In this mini lecture, we're going to take a look at business ethics and social responsibility. Here are the learning outcomes for this chapter. You may pause here to view them. Ethics is a set of moral principles or values that defines what is right or wrong for a single person or a group of people. And ethical behavior is your behavior or a group's behavior that follows these accepted principles of what is right and wrong. What is important to note is that something can be ethical and illegal, or something can be legal, but also to be found to be unethical by a person. So legality and ethics, while they're often similarly tied, aren't necessarily the same. What one person thinks to be ethical is different from another person's ethical viewpoints. And so it's kind of a fuzzy area because there's generally accepted ideas of what's right and wrong. But that varies depending on the person. So things that influence ethical decision making is how the degree of concern people have about an issue, what level of moral development you're in, your self-interest, your religion, government requirements, and just, all the things that made you who you are had an impact on what you view to be ethical or not ethical. So there's different unethical behaviors within the workplace, and they call this deviance. So there's minor, serious, and then there's organizational and interpersonal. So production deviance is pretty minor, and it impacts organizations, things like leaving early, taking excessive breaks, working slowly, wasting resources. And political deviance is still pretty minor, but it's more interpersonal, or person to person, meaning it's gossip, favoritism, blaming, competing in a non-beneficial way. More serious or property deviance is more organizational, so lying about your hours worked, stealing, purposely breaking things. And then personal aggression is interpersonal. Again, it's harassment, abuse, stealing from coworkers, endangering coworkers, etc. So this is the spectrum that ethics falls on within the workplace. Just want to note that there is a U.S. Sentencing Commission guidelines for organizations, which states that companies can be prosecuted and punished for unethical behavior, and it covers offenses defined by federal laws. It encourages companies to be proactive against white-collar crimes. These are things like false accounting, etc., and gives companies an incentive to cooperate and disclose illegal activities to federal authorities. So in order to have ethical decision-making in a corporation or a nonprofit or an organization, you need to select and hire ethical employees. And this can be done through assessments or personality tests. Companies should establish a code of ethics and have it posted and let people know about it. Help to train employees to make ethical decisions. And you can help to create an ethical climate by having managers act ethically, having top management be committed to ethics programs, and having a reporting system that hopefully is anonymous so that unethical situations can be reported. Next, we'll move on to corporate social responsibility. So social responsibility is really doing what's right for people, the earth, etc. And so there's two models. The shareholder model says the organization's overarching goal should be profit maximization for the benefit of the shareholders or stockholders. And then the stakeholder model says management's most important responsibility is long-term survival, and this is done by achieving the interests of the various stakeholders within a company. And so that's its customers, its employees, its stockholders, etc. So social responsibility has some different aspects. So there's economic responsibility, so to make profit, legal, to obey laws and regulations. Ethics is to be ethical, and then discretionary is anything beyond being ethical, following the laws, and making money. There's different strategies for social responsibility. So A reactive strategy would be that a company is doing less than society expects in terms of social responsibility. And so social responsibility could be things like being environmentally friendly, doing things that help underserved populations, etc. A defensive strategy is where a company admits responsibility for a problem and then does the least they have to do to meet societal expectations. An accommodative strategy is when a company accepts responsibility for a problem and does all that they can to solve the problem according to what society would like to have seen done. And then a proactive is where a company or organization actually anticipates a problem before it occurs and does more than society. So here's some examples of social responsibility, and there's also a video on Canvas. Tom's gives a pair of shoes to a child in need for every pair that's bought. Starbucks does a lot to try to preserve the environment. Recently, they just got rid of plastic straws so turtles wouldn't be harmed. They source their coffee from farms and pay them a ethical wage. A lot of coffee farmers are not paid what they should be paid for their coffee. And they also give a lot back to community. Lego is trying to be environmentally friendly by reducing their emissions and using suppliers who reduce their emissions and using sustainable packaging and materials. And here's another example of a coffee company that recycles coffee grounds. This is at McDonald's. So I think the key thing to note here is that a lot of companies are doing things that are socially responsible, and a lot of customers are starting to actually expect it. However, data shows us that there really isn't a trade-off between being socially responsible and then economic performance. But relationships become stronger when a company has a strong reputation for social responsibility. But still even socially responsible companies have ups and downs. So that is a quick overview of Chapter 4. If you have any questions, please contact me. Thank you.